ranking our top 10 tight end prospects, and Georgia's Oscar Delp is among the most talented in the class. With the right usage, he could be a game changer.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And on today's episode, we break down our top 10 tight ends. We're going through tight ends 8 through 10, tight ends 4 through 7, and then we're going to kick this thing off right now with our big 3 tight ends. And I have the rank in front of me. So at number 1, Keith has Kenyon Sadiq. At number 2, out of Oregon, Kenyon Sadiq. Number 2, he has Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt. And number 3 has John Michael Gyllenborg, I believe, out of Wyoming. At number 1, Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon for me. Number 2, our boy Keith, I can't quit him, Oscar Delp out of Georgia. And then at number 3, I have Max Klare out of Ohio State.
DP, can I start this podcast off?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself, man. Because I've been pounding the Oscar Delp table for a few years, right?
Yeah,
the listeners, we did these lists separately, right? So I didn't know what he was going to put on his list. So as I was I had Oscar Delp on my list, right? But I have him lower. And I'm disappointed I didn't put him higher, right? Because I overthought this. I was like, if I put Oscar Delp at 2, at 3, right? Because that's how much I like him. But if I put him at 3, people are going to be like, you know what? This guy's crazy. And I'm disappointed because I sometimes, and I know you feel this way too, DP, feel like you took my guy. But it's okay. It's okay. I appreciate it. I'm all for the Oscar Delp. The stand, right? Like we pounded the table for Oscar Delp. I just had to get that.
Yeah, got to.
That was my initial feeling and reaction.
When I saw your list, I was shocked too. I was like, oh man, he's got Oscar Delp lower than me. I was like, I thought we were gonna be on the same page, but no, we both love Oscar Delp. And there's a simple fact of just being at Georgia, and Georgia, like with Mike Bobo not optimizing his talent. That we talk about it with Zachariah Branch. Lawson Lucky's another one. I mean, if Bobo's there, Lawson, you might want to be lucky and get up out of there. Like hit the portal and go. But just not utilizing these guys properly. But I talked about Oscar Delp, I think, on a bonus show last week. I said his stock is rising. Like, this is a guy that came to the combine. They flagged for a hairline fracture in his foot, and he wanted to test. He wanted to do everything, and basically the agent and all of them was saying no, so he didn't do anything. He got to the pro, they said, I'm doing everything. He's like, nah, I'm going to run. I'm going to jump. I'm going to do vertical, broad. And he tested like a freak. You know what I mean? 6'5", 245. They say he ran 4.48 in the 40. Well, jump with 38 in the vert, 10 in the broad, and everything.
DP, all of this is on film. Listen, it's not a lot. It's not a lot of it, right? You talk about the situation at Georgia. But there are plays where you say, wait, can this young man run under 4.5, and is he 6'5", 250 pounds? And you think about the fact that he can potentially okay. This is how I felt last year, right? And I'm cool. I think it's fun to have this Oscar Delp conversation. I didn't think he was far off from coasting level. That's my potential bold statement. When you talk about, but look at the measurables now, right? Knowing that he runs a 4.4, he's 6'5", close to 250 pounds, really good movement skills, can line up at the X if you want him to, can line up at the slot, can line up at the H-back, can line, like he can do so many different positions, and he's a really good athlete that's now proven. And that's how I felt last year, DP, that I'm like, these two guys, I think you can, even if you give Colston Loveland a nod, right? And let's be honest, right? At this point last year, DP, there were, I think people thought we were crazy because we didn't have Tyler Warren at 1, right? And we were like, nah, we kind of like the Michigan kid, right? But I think that you can put Oscar Delp in that bucket of that type of athleticism and potential impact that he can have on the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was Colston Loveland went wire to wires. My tight end one from that summer. Heading into last year's draft, and it was the receiving ability. It was like, I get it. Like, they don't throw the ball a lot in Michigan. I understand it, right? But like when you see a guy that was dictating the numbers and how teams were bracketing and how they were changing their coverages to limit him in the passing game and not care at all about the tight end, the talent around the tight end. Like, yeah, like he was the dude. And you know, we stood 10 toes down. Like our tight end one was Colston, Colston Loveland. Tyler Warren was our tight end too. And while the beginning of the football season, the NFL season, looked like, hey, Tyler Warren's the clear number one guy. By the time the season ended, people had a whole different stance on it. It was like, oh, I see what people felt about. Yeah, like if you actually watch the tape, right? I get it. Like I get the numbers and the production. Watch the tape because all production isn't created equal. And I think what Oscar Delp is that, you know, for me, Loveland was that just natural route runner. And again, you watch Oscar Delp, you see the good movement skills, the ability. I'll never forget it was like a corner post he ran. I think it was against Tennessee in 2024 when they still had Carson Beck, and Carson Beck drove the ball. It was during the regular season, 2-for-a touchdown, you know, in the end zone. And how it was the crazy thing about it. It was a high-low coverage. You had I think it was a DB playing underneath. You had the safety over top. He stemmed the corner, got the safety to flip his hips and turn and run to the pylon. That he broke back, cross his face on. I was like, manipulative deception, like the speed dilation. I was like, this is what you look for in a mismatch tight end. And then Georgia didn't go back to him. And I was just like, this is just the tale of Oscar Delp in this Georgia offense. He should have been featured. So if he was featured at the level of his talent, his actual physical talent, this is a guy we're probably talking about as a top 15. He's going to, in this class, he would rival Kenyon Sadiq for tight end one if they actually unleashed him in that offense. But they use him a lot as a blocker. And I mean, the quarterback isn't great at Georgia in terms of Gunnar Stockton. So like, they want more. What have I always said? Georgia's been more of a team that's cared about the game managers than the game changers. So it's like when you have a game manager,
that's a good phrase. I like that.
You can't really access and do certain things with game managers. That's just is what it is. So Oscar Delp is talent-wise, he's right up there. We look at Eli Stowers as being right up there with Kenyon Sadiq from an athletic standpoint. Put Oscar Delp in that exact same place, Keith. But I want to talk about Max Klare real quick, Keith. Out of Ohio State. Listen, these tight ends, I need y'all to understand something.
Where did you had Max Klare at
3?
Okay. All right.
I had him at 3. I had Delp at 2. I had him at 3. Max Klare wasn't the most productive tight end in this class either, because Ohio State had Jeremiah Smith, and then you have Carnell Tate, right? And their quarterback is also, you know, Buckeye fans, do not get mad at me for saying this, but it's the truth. Your quarterback's also a game manager. Like, it just is what it is. You know what I mean?
You about to get some Buckeyes.
I'm just saying.
In the DMs.
Good quarterback. He's accurate. But, man, this is not like we saw that once you start playing really good competition, you start to see, hey, you look a little different. You know what I mean? You look a little different against Indiana and against Miami.
And that's very true. And I think post this draft, we're going to sit back and see how didn't Ohio State win the national championship.
Monstars did not win, and they didn't face Michael Jordan either. So, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that they didn't win is just, it's going to be one of those biggest what ifs in college football history, because that roster was loaded. But like, I like Max Klare. I think he's athletic after the catch. He catches the ball well. I would like to see him get a little bit stronger at the point of attack as a run blocker.
Yeah, and I hate to put you on the spot, but I want to ask this. Do you have an NFL comp? Like, what bucket do you think he falls in? And it doesn't even have to be a direct comp, right? But like what bucket? Because he and Dalton Schultz didn't go this high, but he kind of reminds me of Dalton Schultz a little bit, like just those kind of
one of the other tight ends on our list reminds me a lot of Dalton Schultz. He reminded me a little bit of, because I feel like he's just more athletic, straight line. He reminded me a little bit of Hayden Hurst a little bit, out of South Carolina. And it's just another situation of, hey, you transfer, because at Purdue, they got busy with him, man. They got Max Klare the ball at Purdue. He goes to Ohio State, and they're like, yeah, just play your role, brother. Just play your role. And I'm like, man, get him more involved. Like this, he runs great crossing routes. He's a well-timed route runner as well. Not a guy that just like he's not in a rush or in a hurry. Where you see like, hey, you're if we got a high-low situation, we got to clear out. You got to give your clear out time to clear out. Like, he does a good job timing his routes, working into the void in the space versus zone. And I like him, especially up the seam. I think he's got good straight line speed, and he displays enough toughness at the catch point to where I'm like, okay, I could deal with you against some safeties and stuff like that, where I like what he brings to the table. Just an underrated tight end in this class overall, but it's just a fact that he doesn't have the production.
Yep, I agree. DP, let's do this, man. We knocked out the big three, right? Let's go tight ends 4 through 7. And like we said, we did these lists separately, right? So we are unveiling these names to each other. And like we said, Oscar Delp, man, I'm disappointed in myself, right? I'm disappointed in myself. But there's a couple of names that I think we're going to have in this next segment that I think we both probably, I feel like those names probably fall in this next bucket that we both like, that I'm excited to discuss, because we haven't discussed tight ends in depth. So man, this is a really good episode, and I'm getting a lot of knowledge just going back and forth with DP. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, because we're gonna talk more tight ends coming up next.
It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face to face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go on about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person, and walking out knowing that your taxes are being handled right. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Audience 4 through 7 is what we're getting into. But don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes, access to our group chat via the Discord with me, with Keith, with the other listeners of the show. You can ask us questions. We're going to do fan mail Fridays and everything that only for the Discord members. You could drop a mock draft in there and we'll review it on the pod. All of that via the Discord channel. But you got to go sign up to be an Everydayer. Tap the link in the show notes, or go to LockedOnNFLDraft.supercast.com to sign up. Tight ends 4 through 7, Keith. So for you at number 4, you have Max Klare out of Ohio State. And number 5, you have Michael Trigg from Baylor. Number 6, you have Jack Injuries from Texas. And number 7, you have Oscar Delp from Georgia. For me at
number 7, but he really 3 in my heart, DP. Number 3 in my heart.
Listen, he's number 3 in Keith's heart, guy. So understand, he's talked about him a lot for 3 years. He still loves Oscar Delp. At number 4, Keith, I have Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt. I have Michael Trigg at 5 out of Baylor. I have Eli Raridan, tight end out of Notre Dame, at number 6. And then I have Stanford Sam Roush, or Roush, I think it's Roush. Sam Roush out of Stanford at number 7. Go ahead.
Can I go somewhere? Because I don't know what your 8 through 10 is. But I wanted to discuss the Wyoming tight end, John Michael Gyllenborg. I like this young man, DP. He reminds me of, he falls in a bucket of, in my opinion, with Tucker Kraft and Trey McBride. Just kind of small school tight ends, but they operate as like flex options. And almost big wide receivers, right? And that's why he was placed that high for me, because if an NFL team, and you've seen the Packers do it with Tucker Kraft, and you've seen the Cardinals, over the past few years really develop Trey McBride into that being a really heavy passing option. But I like this young man. I think there's some movement to him, and what it was at the Senior Bowl, right? He's at the Senior Bowl. Watching him, him and another guy that's on this list that we'll reveal later, I thought they were clearly, in my opinion, like the top 2 tight ends. But I thought that John Michael Gyllenborg was a really good mover, like fluid. I thought he was a fluid mover.
He's an athletic dude. The athletic traits are there for him. I think there's a lot of developmental upside. You know what I mean? You got to work on some of the run block and stuff with him. But yeah, the speed, the burst, the acceleration out of his breaks. Yeah, I didn't put him in. I didn't watch him enough to feel like I was like, I'm not comfortable yet. I want to watch more of him because there's just a lot of tight ends and everything. But I'm gonna definitely finish get eyes on him and watch him.
And he came in, DP. He came in at 6'6", 250 pounds.
So he's got the height, weight, speed element to his profile.
Yep. And I think he ran a 4.6 flat. So, pretty solid. 35-inch vertical, 10.8 broad jump, 1.6 10-yard split. So, good athleticism. I think there's stuff for him to kind of, to be really flushed out, right? In the tight end position that's another IQ position, right? Where the nuances and the details of obviously playing in the middle field, always surrounded around defenders. So I just want to discuss him real quick because there's some things that I like about him. And like I said, falling in that Tucker Craft, Trey McBride bucket.
No, 100%, Keith. Guy I wanted to bring up, man. Michael Trigg out of Baylor. I think when you talking about just that pure flex, just like when you're talking about guys that like big wide receiver, a receiver in a tight end's body, I think that's Michael Trigg. 100%. He's got the basketball background, so like the ball skills, the leaping ability, the win contested catches. He had some wild catches during this season. And honestly, I mean, like with Sawyer Robertson, like you had him and Josh Cameron that you could cook with, you know what I mean? Like, and get the ball to in that Baylor offense and everything. And just like I think he's probably got like 10-inch hands, if I'm not mistaken, for Trigg. We haven't seen him like fully test just yet. Or I know that the pro day, I haven't seen the numbers yet. And so, because some teams, I think it was like Arkansas, like I don't think any of their stuff from their pro day actually they give it to the reporters or nothing. Some schools are just being secretive about it. I have to look after we record this pod. But I think Trigg, from the athleticism, I think he can get better as a route runner. The thing with him is going to be the blocking. And it's not even just how you always say, like, hey, NFL tight ends aren't good either. Yeah, no, he's just really, really hard to watch as a blocker.
It's really an area of concern.
It's a real area of concern. Like, it's one thing. It's like, okay, well, if we're not running gap scheme and I'm not man blocking you, like down blocks, having you attack, the guy in front of you. Okay, cool. We're using slice action off the split flow.
Yeah.
And to watch him run into the unblocked defender, and I'm just like, this ain't working either. Like, this is not working. I'm like, yeah, he you know what he feels like to me? More of an Aaron Hernandez type of tight end. Where if you pair him with that, listen, I know, guys, it's been a long time, but please go back and watch Aaron Hernandez like with the Patriots. Him and Rob Gronkowski were terrorizing teams. Like, you know what I mean? To where like the Patriots would put Aaron Hernandez at X and at the big slot, and just that matchup problem that he created. You know what I mean? For teams like, why are you trying to keep the big 6'7", 270 guy from killing you on the seam on the corner routes? You're trying to double team him. You got Aaron Hernandez with the short area quickness, the route running, the speed, the acceleration, and he's just dominating one-on-one situations against linebackers and safeties. I think he gives you that where you play him as more of an H-back or more of the H tight end off the ball in those situations. I want to get him out in space as a blocker against like safeties and corners, try to pick off a linebacker. I'm trying to avoid getting him against defensive ends and stand-up edge rushers as much as possible. But like as a pure pass catcher, he might be one of the best, if not the best in his class, of just pure like receiving ability.
Yeah, no, and I'm right there. I think he's up near the top, right? Like he's top 3, right? He should be in that bucket. But like you said, it'll be interesting to see which teams decide to invest in him more on the wide receiver side and kind of look past the blocking element of it, because I'm the blocking part, right? It's kind of like tackling on defense, right? It's part of it is a want to, just simply it's an effort thing. So I'll be interested to see which teams think they can develop that part, or they just flat out ignore it and say, you know what, we'll deal with the receiving part of it and take that. DP, let's do this, man. Let's keep this thing going and flowing, man. We have tight ends 8 through 10 on our list coming up next.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. And now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. In futures and cleared swaps, trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. At number 8, tight end 8, I'll start with mine. I have Joe Royer out of Cincinnati. At tight end number 9, I have Justin Jolie from NC State. And at tight end 10, I have Texas tight end Jack Injuries for Keith. At number 8, he has Texas A&M's Nate Boerkircher. At number 9, this is a guy that I got to finish watch too. He almost made my list. Didn't finish watching him yet. Marlon Klein out of Michigan. And then at tight end 10, he has Sam Roosh from Stanford. Keith, I want to go to Klein in a second, but Joe Royer is a guy that I like what I've seen from him, Keith. Like,
okay, talk about it.
6'5", almost 250 pounds, 10 3/4 on the hand, 31.5-inch arms. Like, Cincinnati did a lot of things in terms of scheme wise, tight end leaks and delays and stuff like that, but they released him in numerous different ways, in the flats, wheel routes, corner routes. But I like his ability in the quick game, in the quick hitches. I think he has good football IQ. He's really good against the zone defenses in terms of, you see him be able to press, identify that these guys are dropping back. They're getting depth. Their momentum is taking them backward. Now he sits it at 3 yards, gets the ball, and he gives you some toughness and I think athleticism vertically after the catch. But then I watched him. I can't remember which game I was watching. But they ran a post route. It was him versus the safety one-on-one. Safety's off about 10, 12 yards, and just really good route. Beat him clean one-on-one. I think it was like cover 0. And when you have tight ends like that could do that type of stuff, where it's like, okay, if you give me the one-on-one, you want to run that simulated pressure, that cover 0, and I get the one-on-one, I can win, especially vertically. So then I think it was against you at UCF. I was watching against UCF, and it was a play where they hit him, I think, on a crossing route, and then he just pulled away from nearly everybody. I think it was one of the DBs was able to chase him down. It was like almost a 60, 70-yard play, almost went for a touchdown. They caught him inside the red zone, inside the 5, I believe. So, I think for him, you want to see him getting stronger. It's going to be a big thing for him too. He's 247. So, hey, can we get you up to 255? Kind of help with the run game stuff, but he's a willing blocker. I think it's not his best trait. To tell you the truth, it's not his best trait. It's not Michael Trigg, but it ain't his best trait. So I think that he can develop and grow there, but definitely I think he comes in as a guy that's like, he reminded me of Terrence Ferguson from last year. I think he reminded me of Terrence Ferguson. We don't have a 40 time on him yet, but Ferguson ran like 4.64. He was always more finesse, route runner, ball winner, that type of thing. It's the same thing. They play him at the X, the Z, power slot. He runs deep in cuts. He had one throw where the ball was high. Sorsby left it high, and he just went up in the middle of the field like it was an alley-oop and just snatched it. The DB took his legs out. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, you don't want that. But he came down with it. He made the catch. You know what I mean? It's just those type of things, Keith, where it's the athleticism I see on tape, the ball skills, the hands. I think this guy could be a playmaker at the next level.
I like that, DP. I'm gonna have to dive all the way into him. I watched him surface level, but I'm gonna have to go in depth with him. I wanted to discuss Marlon Klein, DP. The Michigan from tight end, came into the combine 6'6", 250 pounds. The reason I believe he's not discussed a lot, right? It's the Michigan factor. 24 catches last year, right? 24 catches, 248 yards, and only one touchdown. So just not a lot of production at Michigan. But watching this young man, DP, he can move. He's a pretty fluid mover, and he came into the combine at 248, and right around 250. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays at 260. This is a big dude with a wide catch radius. And I think because of the lack of production of which you didn't see at Michigan, he's probably going to fall in a projection bucket, right? Like you're going to have to project him forward. But I mean, listen, you're talking about early day 3, late day 2. If I need a tight end or a tight end 2, I have no problem with potentially taking a swing on him. Like, especially in the 4th round, I'm like, hey, give me 6'6", 255, and I'll see, right? I think this young man from Germany, so came over to play collegiate football. So yeah, I like the potential of him, and that's where he graded for me. Other guy I'm gonna talk about real quick. I told you it was 2 tight ends at the Senior Bowl that stood out. Very little film on this young man before. Well, I didn't watch him that much. Let me say that before I got to the Senior Bowl. And talking about a young man that just consistently stood out, and that's Nate
Boerkircher.
From Texas A&M, and just came off as just a very well-rounded tight end. Even when he was covered, he was a young man that went up and elevated and just got the football. And when covered, he was finding a way to separate. He's not a guy I don't think is going to wow you with any elite athleticism or anything like that, but just one of those steady Eddie guys that knows how to play the position. And I think there's a lot of value. And also Texas A&M, there was a lot of versatility that they used with him. You always talk about that split flow action. Like he would line up at that kind of, F, H back, whatever you want to call it, and do the split flow action in the blocking scheme. But he will also come out of the backfield doing that, right? If it was a play action bootleg type situation, he can do that. So there's a lot for him that he's already done at Texas A&M, and I think that teams will find comfortability with him and the fact that he's just a well-rounded guy. Like he's a B across the board, right? Like a B plus across the board. It may not be anything that's an A, but he's a B plus across the board.
Yeah, no, he definitely, watching the film back from that weekend in Mobile, he surprised me. I didn't know much about him during the regular season because he didn't. I felt like he wasn't. When you got Mario Craver and Austin Bethel Roman and Casey Concepcion, it's kind of hard to get your targets, in that offense and everything. But I like what I saw from in Mobile, like the route running, the contested catches, the ability to win up the seam. I'm like, hey, this dude from Texas A&M got some stuff to him. You know what I mean? It's like, and overall, Keith, as we get ready to close the show, like when you look at this tight end class, you know what I mean? Where are you with this tight end class? Because I think this is tight end class that they got pigeonholed and labeled as not a good class. I get we had Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fannin last year. I know we had that was a loaded tight end class last year. You know what I mean? And I get it, right? But this tight end class, to me, it's a good group. Like this is a pretty solid group where you get yourself. When I look at I think Eli Stowers, who we didn't really get a chance to talk about, we've already break him down a little bit later on this week. And getting into his game, he's the guy that tore. Hey, listen, he had the Deion Sanders, Coach Prime combine. He ripped and ran and said, I'm not doing nothing else. I'm good. I'll see you at Vanderbilt. Like he was like, I'm good. But him, Kenyon Sadiq, Oscar Delp, Max Klare, athletic guys, Michael Trigg, athletic guys, and you got the guys who probably come in more as a tight end 2-3 who's going to be blockers for you with developmental upside. This is a pretty solid tight end class where for my fantasy people out there, you might not invest heavily into this tight end class right out the gate, but there's definitely some players that can help your NFL team.
Yeah, listen, I feel this is a good tight end class. I think it's well-rounded. I think they have a bunch of different pieces. And you could just hear from our list, DP, we don't have all of the same names in the same slots. And a couple names I have on my list that made the top 10 are not on your list and vice versa, right? So that goes to show you there's a lot of depth in even fighting with a conversation of the Oscar Delp, right? Like what to put him out. He can go as high as 3. He can go 7, right? Somewhere around there. I like this class. I'll be honest, I like it a lot. And I think the best way to put this is for this class, you're going to have to look beyond the numbers. Don't just focus on the production score, or anything like that. Look beyond the numbers and grade the actual and watch the actual prospect, because there's a lot of young men that can play a lot of good football in the NFL potentially. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at the Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we probably should go ahead and just keep the tight end train running. Let's break down Eli Stowers, talk about his game and where we see him coming off the board, team fits, grades, pros, cons. Again, he tore up the combine, but it still feels like he's not being discussed a lot for a guy who jumped 45.5 inches or whatever he jumped. Like, for that athlete performance at the combine, still don't see his name discussed enough. So we're going to jump into the tape and really tell you what we saw and our thoughts on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.